All right, everybody, here we are with episode 5 of Untapped. We're real excited. We had a really long pod last time. I thought it flowed pretty good. I personally listened to most of my pods at speed of 1.5 to 2. So if people don't know about that, there's usually can go into the settings and increase the speed. And at first, you could probably start at 1.25 speed at first. It might sound a little bit too fast, but eventually it'll train your mind. Dana is probably the expert there. I don't know if you listen to it. I know some people can get up to 3 to 3.5 times the speed.
Oh no,
Wow.
I'm too slow to be. I can't listen to. I know I gotta take every word in. If anything, I need to slow it down.
Do you, so you still take in everything and it's just sped up. Look at the deer. I'm outside at my house and there's deer right over here. I can see them from my yard.
You gotta update us on where you are, man.
I'm in West Virginia, back home for Thanksgiving. This is where I'm from, so I was raised here. Um, yeah, so we always come here every year for Thanksgiving. What? That's all I got. I'm
What
looking at
kind of
these.
what is the layout? What does the Thanksgiving layout look like at your family's house?
Oh, it's like a full week because of hunting season. So Monday, like in West Virginia, schools are closed and everything for the first day of rifle season. Like everybody's off work because hunting's like a huge thing here. So every Monday we always go hunting and then basically hunt through the week. And then most people get off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday if they're not already off. And then we'll just hang out here at the house and then go to my aunt's Thursday evening. That's about it. And then I'll fly back to Arizona Friday morning.
Oh yeah. All right.
Woo.
Levi back in the house. Tater too. Let's go.
What about you, Kyle? What are you doing this week for Thanksgiving?
I it looks like we're gonna get it's one of these things that's like, I don't sort of don't like it, but at the same time we've kind of learned to roll with it because it's not about us, but Mikey Kelly from our gym, he works for a mortgage company, and every year they sponsor a couple families, I think, to do a Thanksgiving for. So they're gonna lay out something for us. We were originally planning to set up Thanksgiving at the Recharge Center and do like an outreach, but I'm going to end up having a surgery Wednesday to remove. We got a kind of in a tough place to get to. We got to get a piece of a lymph node out for the trial for the research, and so we were like, hey, actually, this might help us out. And both of my parents are down right now. My dad had knee replacement, and my mom broke her pelvis. So we were thinking, hey, this might work out. We'll just probably end up having something at TRC, and he might end up bringing an extra, and we might make it a thing where everybody's invited, sort of deal.
Nice.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so Dana, oh, there is Kai Kai. This is Kai Hanan. This is my son here. He's 13 years old. He's going to be sitting in with us today.
You got somebody in the back there. Is that a cat?
I think, yeah.
What's
Wait,
that?
what?
The
Kyle doesn't
cat?
see the cat behind him.
Oh, yeah. I see it
Oh,
now.
is that good?
Yeah, dude.
What up, Kai?
Hey,
What you
where's
up to,
Levi?
bro? You can't see him?
Old.
No, no, what is that? He's
This-
outside?
yeah, for my face. I'm free. It's like 35 and I'll just do the podcast outside.
Nice. So what's going on, Mr. Kai?
Not much. Just chilling.
Yeah. Yeah, Kai has been listening to, he literally, I'm not gonna make my kids listen to the podcast, but I'm pretty happy that the family usually listens to him, and he's usually the first one. He usually pops in right away. I think Luke's been a little more active with the participation comments and stuff, but all of the guys have been popping in and listening to podcasts, and Kai's really started to get into health optimization. He has a Whoop strap where you can track your heart rate variability, resting heart rate, and all those kinds of things. So he's all about kind of what the movement of Untapped is. He just had football tryouts out of school and is really into how to optimize performance. So I know that he wants to get together with Dana and Levi and get some tips up here soon.
Kyle, do you listen to the podcast? I don't listen to it. I don't like to.
I struggle with playing it back. I don't like to hear my own voice, but I have I listen to, yeah, I think I've made it through all of them. I don't usually listen to it all at once because I start to get annoyed with myself and sometimes I'll skip
Yeah.
forward a little bit. But yeah, I feel you. I did a podcast that just came out with this guy Nick from Canada. And I think it was like a 2.5 hour podcast. And I really struggled listening to that one because it was just me and him going real deep on subjects. And there's so many spots where I'm just like, oh, why did I say that?
Yeah, I don't like to listen to it. Every time I hear Taya playing it in the background, I'm like, turn that down.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I don't have a choice. I have to listen to it.
Yeah,
Kind of.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Right.
skip like 15 seconds on things because like we'll talk about a topic and then immediately I remember us like actually talking about it, so I can kind of skip a little bit. So I don't have to listen to it all the way through, but I have a couple times just on YouTube or whatever.
It's weird hearing you guys in normal speed. I usually like play it in like 2x speed. I'm so slow now.
Right on. So anybody got any special updates or any topics they want to talk? Got a couple things to get us rolling today, but wondered if what you guys got for the day.
I did my first ice bath today, like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and it was not fun.
What was how did you do that? Did you just do it? You just, is there ice out there right now, or did you have to still do a little
The
setup?
water here out of the sink and like in the shower, if you just go straight cold, is like probably 50 degrees because it's so cold here. And
Yeah.
we have a jacuzzi tub and then I hit the jets, so the jets are spinning. So the cold water, like how the arts is, like cold water with the jets, it doesn't have to be as cold. To I don't know. I think when the water's circulating, then it feels a little bit colder than if the water's just sitting still.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, I found the same thing. I don't know, having those when you get chunks of ice in there though, I feel like that's the ultimate thing. Something about
That,
having those ice chunks around you while you're sitting in the plunge.
It's fun to break them apart. Like just smash all the with like a hammer or something.
yeah, I think that's definitely, it gets to your mental when you see those chunks or you feel them. You're like, I got to move my head because there's this big block of ice behind me or whatever. Did you see Clemson football? I think they put in a 100-yard maybe wellness center. Like it's their whole indoor facility. They turned it into a wellness. You know, like red lights, hyperbaric stuff, massage tables. Like it's massive. It's the best. It's the best wellness like sports specific clinic I've seen ever.
Wow, that's incredible. I always wonder, you see, it seemed like 30, 40 years ago, the universities had really nice gyms and I mean, it's nothing compared. Now those gyms that were really nice, the high-end gyms of universities are in high schools, your standard high school now. I wonder if we're going to start seeing it expand those wellness centers into the high schools like that too.
I think probably 10 years, maybe 10. It's going to take a little bit longer because I know a lot of professional sports, they haven't completely adopted it. Yeah, adopted it. Yeah, like, which to me is shocking, but a lot of the pro sports teams that I know of, they're not fully bought into all that stuff yet. But I think that's coming in the next 2 or 3 years.
I think you can't. I believe that you really can't get away with it anymore in a sport like UFC because if you want to be a top 10 fighter now, if you're not doing those things, it's going to show up. Maybe you can skate by in a team sport where I don't know, like you don't have as much, you don't have to be on in all points, But I feel like, in sports, it's going to probably become more and more true in the future, where if you're going to try to get in to a team sport, you're going to have to be able to perform at a level where you're going to need to have been utilizing those tools.
Yeah, I think with martial arts, it's definitely more important for those guys. No, I wouldn't say more important, but they need to do it more because it's so physical, where other sports might not be as physical, so you don't have to be as in good a shape and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. So what's going on with Dana? What's new?
Nothing. I was gonna say too, I had some really like advanced athletic trainers in my high school. I think if some of these schools get like trainers that like the athletic programs like, hey, you guys can, kind of do whatever you want. I don't know if it's like that at every school, but it wasn't my high school. I mean, I'm sure there's some trainers that will probably, adopt those things, like see if they can get a cold bath going or something like that and bring it into a high school. I'm sure that would happen in the next like 5-10 years. But
Yeah,
I watched a little bit of the fights last night. Those are pretty sick. It was a bummer. I don't know what happened with Derek Lewis. I have no idea.
He said he had some kind of stomach virus, and they admitted him to the hospital, and they medically cleared him like 4 or 5 hours after the fight. So I didn't get all the details.
Mm.
Did you see there was a Latin guy? I can't remember his name. They said he was a baseball player, and then I looked it up and I couldn't find any of his stats or anything. So I don't know what the deal was there.
They're just they probably heard the buzz of this guy Levi Kelly coming up, and they're stories now.
Oh,
They're like, yeah, this guy played for the Reds. Maybe he did, but I was trying to find his stats. I mean, typically everybody that has played, I don't know. He was good. He won the fight, but
What was his weight class?
Heavyweight too.
Oh, okay.
Right on. I guess you're gonna have to kick his ass.
No, he's too big. Waldo Cortez Acosta.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I have heard them talk about this guy.
He's won 2 fights in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's from the Dominican.
Go ahead.
He asked for a fight December 12th too. That would be 3 fights in like 2 months.
That's good. Heck yeah. Man, oh man.
I don't know his baseball deal. I was trying to find it.
So what's going on with what's going on with Mr. Kai? Let's ask this dude a lot of questions about what's it feel like to be a 13-year-old dude.
I don't really know. Pretty pretty lame, to be honest. I want to be going to like cool stuff like you guys.
I'm not doing anything cool.
Well, I want to go to Florida, hang out. I don't know.
You don't want to go to West Virginia, you'll freeze.
Kai's he likes the cold. He's always like, man, I want to live in the cold climate.
Really?
I think you have to kind of experience it to understand. So I feel like fortunate to live in a warmer climate. I think Dana knows a little about that too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just booked my flight to go home for Christmas finally. I gotta fend off the family constantly because they're trying to get me home for Thanksgiving, and I'm like, dude, I can only do the cold for so long, and this is like the shortest flight or shortest time I'll be home like ever for Christmas. I think it's like the 23rd to the 30th or something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I wrote a whole paper for a psychology class in college about would you rather live in Arizona July, August, or would you rather live in Chicago January, February? And the consensus is easily living here July, August, because it's just dangerous. Forget like it's not you go outside, it's 110 degrees. That's your choice if you want to go on a hike and make it dangerous. But if you live in a climate like that, you don't have a choice. You go to school every day for 3 months in, there's ice on the ground and stuff like that. It's like, like everyone's a little harder because of it. I mean, people talk about that mentality and stuff, but at the same time, you're a little depressed because you're just like, dude, I'm always inside. It's dark as soon as 4 o'clock hits, like all that sort of stuff. So I enjoy it here way more.
I'm with you 100%. It did like that deal of having to wake up and you get up in the morning, if you're driving, if you're going to work, you gotta scrape the ice off the car, and it's just kind of, you're going to the grocery store. From Oregon, it's cold and it rains, so you go to the grocery store, you're gonna get wet. Everything's gonna get wet. It's just, you're cold, but you start sweating inside when you got to move. Those kinds of feelings I'm not a big fan of.
It makes you gritty though. I think it's good for, like, it's got to be good for something. Just, I don't know, people from, maybe it's just West Virginia because it's a little bit more like country. I don't know. People here are tough. I feel like
Oh yeah.
they're a lot of the kids, like football and stuff, they were all of them were tough and stuff. And probably just the generation too. Kids are a little bit softer nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think that's definitely true. I feel like it's when you live in that colder climate, and if you're an athletic person, you just grow up in your t-shirts and shorts when it's 40 degrees outside, playing basketball, playing football in the rain and stuff like that. And I definitely think it toughens you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So you're
first
getting,
week, I was gonna say the first week of baseball in high school for us in Chicago. I mean, it's as cold as it gets. It's like end of February, beginning of March, and I mean, playing baseball in the cold is the worst thing in the world. Like, there's nothing worse than that.
imagine getting hit in the rib when it's 30 out with 95.
Oh no.
Dude, getting a stinger on a bat when you're swinging it, I mean, feels like
Yeah.
you break something.
Yeah.
How was it leaving Nico? How was his state before you took off?
Um, I left in the middle of, they were doing jujitsu and I had to go. So it was kind of just like a short little like piece, but he seemed good. The last week he felt really strong. His cardio is just gotten better and better. The first week I was there, the coach said, "Y'all wait, boys. In 3 weeks, he's gonna be a different guy." And 3 weeks he was a different guy. So I'm pumped for him. I think he's gonna do just fine.
Man, I can't wait. It's coming up.
Yeah, it's gonna be. That's a good card too.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if you guys probably saw it. Joe Perez from our gym has a fight in Rough MMA December 10th. Very
Is
excited to go watch that.
Danny too or no?
I doesn't look like he has one yet. I think he was trying to get on that card. I think they were having trouble getting an opponent for him. But I think there's going to be a few guys from the lab on that card as well. So I think that's one that will be exciting.
Yeah. What weight is Danny gonna fight at?
What did he fight? He fought at 155, I think, for his first fight. So I think he's sticking at that weight.
Oh, nice.
That
Because he
seems to
walked
be good for him.
177, 180 maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. We're waiting until we get back. When Levi gets back, and I got to get together with Dana here or something, but doing getting the podcast in person, that's going to be a whole nother element. So thanks to everybody watching and kind of putting up with this as we go along. We're kind of finding our way still. Whoops. That's not a good interruption.
Jets.
Yeah, so what's been on my mind, this might be a little bit controversial and things like that, but so I was thinking a little bit, kind of going on last week. We talked about the dad who was just kind of giving it to his kid, being real negative, kind of overcoaching him, putting him down and things like that. And Kai was there for that too. And I was thinking a lot this week, kind of in that same thread of the emotions that go into sports as a parent, as a as a fan, as a coach. Not on the athletes have a different amount, emotion going on there. That's a whole nother vibe there. But I'm kind of thinking of, like, for example, we all know the person, and I've been guilty of it in my life too. You see people getting together for football events, and they are just they for the entire time, and a lot of time there's drinking involved, but their emotions are out of control. They're either going in the angry direction or super celebrating, like with everything. So much energy and so much focus is going into it. You see parents in there, so much emotion and energy is going into their kids being out on the field. but I was kind of thinking a lot about that topic this week, and maybe somebody has some thoughts or experience on that.
I think
Why don't you
with
tell your story about when you were coaching soccer for Shy and that guy was yelling?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a common example. I was coaching girls soccer, and we had a parent that was I don't know why he didn't just sign up to coach. It's just a volunteer league, but he's just one of these parents where his daughter was 11, and he was just constantly screaming and saying, "Hey, we need to do this on the field," and things like that. And I kind of told him, "Hey, chilled out," and stuff like that. But it was getting to be this thing where I was going to have to like get really, aggressive with him. And, I was like, okay, what's the league's policy there? So I ended up calling the league and said, hey, we got a guy that's been a little bit out of control with coaching and things like that. And the guy said, okay, we got ways of dealing with this problem. Don't worry, we got you. And I was like, well, okay. And so I came back to coach the next game, no sign of this guy. And for like the next 5, 6 games, no sign of him. But the daughter would still show up. I don't know what happened there, how they got to him, but
wow, that's
that's the
crazy.
story.
There's a we were just talking about this. Coach Mike was telling me about this kid that he worked with, and it was a boxer. He was young, like 12, 13, fighting in the junior nationals, I think in Hawaii or something. And the kid was really good, and the guy who was fighting was really good. And right before the match, the kid put on his gloves, had his hands wrapped and everything, and was ready to go. And then the kid was like, "Oh, I have to pee," and the dad just lost it, like lost. What are you doing? And just went crazy. And the kid ended up getting beat, and like close fight. I think it was a draw or something like that. Uh, and after the match, the dad was still drilling the kid, drilling the kid, drilling the kid. And Coach Mike was like, I'm going to step away because I don't want to tell somebody how to parent, you know, kind of stepped away and was sitting in he said it was a huge stadium, and he's just constantly on the kid, on the kid, on the kid about it. And eventually Coach Mike, like, listen, he just snapped and he was like, listen, one more word and me and you're going to go at it. Like I've heard, but I think that like just another story of a parent just taking it way too far and embarrassing the kid, which typically makes them hate the sport or whatever, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on that, Kai? Have you had any experiences with any but coaches or parents or anybody kind of getting a little too emotional?
Um, Not really. I mean, there's that one lady at Luke's soccer game that was kind of going crazy. And you know, it's kind of funny though to see everybody's like reaction, like looking at them like angry and stuff. I don't know.
Mm.
But I mean, it's sad when like it gets to the kid and then kid has issues and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that's he's talking about an indoor soccer league we're involved in, and I'll give an example here of what he's talking about. Let's see.
You got the video?
Yeah, Gray, you got this, Gray. Come on, Gray. Nice job. Yeah, Gray.
Yeah, so that's kind of an example. I think there's an appropriate time, there's an not appropriate time, but you get parents that they don't have, for some reason I don't understand it. They don't have an understanding of, hey, this is bugging the kid, you know what I mean? To the point that the players on the team were mad at the other kid, and getting upset and giving him a hard time because, oh, your parent is like that, they're so loud or whatever. But it's I noticed it correlates too to kind of the whole vibe, and it's a whole culture, and it's an unpopular take of, now I'm at the point where I try not to, I guess I get into UFC, like I'll cheer, but I feel like I'm not going to get like that if I don't kind of know the person, or I'm not attached to it somehow in a personal way. I guess my thoughts are like, if I'm going to a football game and I see everybody just cheering, there's like a spirit going on there, and I think a lot of times people don't even know why they're cheering like that or why they're getting so angry or what the reason is for it.
Right. I think the biggest thing is just when you're okay, you have a kid and he's coming up and he's playing 6, 7, 8U, and you think that's such a big deal, and then they get to 12U and you think that's such a big deal. Like me coming up, it doesn't really get to become that important as far as like scholarships or pro scouts. For the pro stuff, it doesn't really matter until like the last 2 years of high school. And then for college, I mean, until you're in high school, it's all kind of just prepping for that. It's not that important. Nobody's going to remember it at all. And even for the majority of kids, your freshman, sophomore year doesn't even matter anyway. But for the big high end schools, that a lot of times they recruit early on. So by the time you're a junior, the recruiting class will already be filled up. So at that point, it is important for that stuff. But these little like bitty ball, rec league, Pop Warner games, they're minuscule. Nobody even remembers it. It's supposed to be like get your reps, have fun, and go home and eat dinner and go to bed. It shouldn't be a thought.
Okay.
What you got on that, Dan? I know playing sports, you've probably been around some pretty good Bulls and the Bears type of people.
Yeah, I mean, it still happens in high school, even though, like you said, it doesn't really matter until you get there as far as like parents chirping and stuff like that. It would typically be like high schools where like the best kid on the team, his mom was, boozing and screaming for, her kid and all that kind of stuff. And he'd be like a Under Armour All-American, like catcher or something like that, and just be like screaming in the middle of the game, only him, doesn't even really care about the team, and it's like the kid honestly kind of fed off of it, so there's the flip side to it. Is like he kind of liked it, he kind of liked the attention, and his game kind of played off of that, which kind of pissed all of us off as far as like being on the opposite team and stuff like that. But I mean, there's just no place obviously to be yelling at a kid, or like you said, even just like cheering at the wrong time, just not really having self-awareness of like, hey, this is kind of not the time, should probably be cheering more for the team, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know that there's a way to fix it, like to like go up to a parent and like tell them like this is exactly what he said with Coach Mike, is like, I'm not gonna go tell them how to raise their kid or like how to talk to their kid and stuff like that. So there's no like good way. Like this is just something that happens, and it seems like sports seems to get the best out of people. So yeah.
I think it's just hard. I think for some, I don't know, like I don't even remember parents that were like crazy or anything like that.
Right.
Maybe small stories, but it never really like bothered me or anything. I kind of, as a player, I was always like telling him to be quiet, or I'd score to him. I would always get off of it.
Yeah, kind of same too.
Yeah.
Kai, what position you playing in football? I think your pop said tight end or something, right?
Yeah, tight end.
Who's your favorite tight end? You got a favorite?
Not really. I don't really watch much football. I'm more into basketball.
You should look up Mike Ditka, one of the best tight ends of all time.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Yeah, go watch some of his stuff.
All right.
Also
If
one of the greatest coaches.
if he's playing football too, his lifts, I should change some of the lifts that he's doing. That's a different type of training.
Yeah. Yeah,
You can
he would love that. We gotta get him to the gym, and I know he would just right, Kai, you'd absolutely love to be around a workout like that with Levi.
Dude,
Football's-
Levi's workouts are crazy. It's so unique.
Yeah. Football's more throw it around. Like you're kind of trying to build, the way I look at it as you're building body armor. So you need a little bit of that extra muscle tone. If you lose a little bit of range of motion, I would argue that it's going to be beneficial for you in a contact sport like that, where you kind of need that body armor.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yes.
Man, I got cold. I had to go change. I got to put a sweatshirt on. I'm looking at Levi and it's making me cold.
Old.
Dude,
Yeah,
I
I'm
had a
cold.
fever all week, so I had like, like jackets and coats and stuff like that on all week. So now I'm like finally, kind of getting out of that. Finally like slept with just one blanket last night and stuff like that. So
Oh,
Oh,
I
I
feel
want
you, man.
to
Fevers are
ask.
no fun. That's the one thing I noticed that the cold plunge makes worse is fevers. When I've had a fever and I've done a cold plunge, it doesn't go good.
So
I feel like I
you
have,
think?
I
Go
feel like I
ahead.
have a boring background right now compared to like Levi's trees and stuff. It's so sick. I think every podcast that on Untapped, Levi's been like in a crazy, wacky place. It's awesome.
Where's the shades today? There's no shades.
Oh, she said she was like, "Do you need do?" And I'm like, "I'll just wear this hat. It'll be good enough."
mhm.
Kyle, do you think there's a lot of people around here are talking because there's a lot of plants, chemical plants here. Do you think there's a correlation between like the chemical plants and cancer? Like, do some of these chemical plants cause cancer?
You know, the I think about the Chernobyl thing where radiation was there was people, a huge amount of people that ended up getting cancer that were exposed to a higher dose of radiation. So I kind of think, yeah, there might be some truth to that. I know I've looked into the studies for stuff like that, for living by the plants or the the chemical plants, or the other ones that are big too, are the living close to a lot of the transformers and the electricity, being near the power lines. There's been some interesting studies about the living, your constant, if those electromagnetic fields are close to where you're sleeping and you're living all the time. There's been some studies that are a little concerning that have popped out about that too. But I kind of think too, like with all of the cancer stuff, I think that it's really weird because if you look at lung cancer, for example, I used to think that, oh man, people that smoke, they're going to get lung cancer, and that's the correlative cause. But I think it's something like only 20% of people, 10 to 20% of people that get lung cancer actually smoked. So I do think that you can bring cancers to the certain cancers, like maybe lung cancer, maybe if you're really abusing your, same people too that had drinking problems or smoking, the esophageal cancer. You have people that chew tobacco that got that's the oral type of cancers. There seems to be a correlation there. But then what I get is that how many people have done tons of chewing tobacco. They've worked around really high. There's different jobs and occupations where they're exposed to horrible stuff all day long. People that eat sugar, they'll drink 30. There's a woman that turned 100 and she said that for 40 years every day she drank 30 cans of beer or whatever. So you have some people, it's like, why do some people get it? But I do think that, yeah, I think that maybe if you're around chemicals and we don't know what it is exactly, and it's definitely going to be more a higher level of toxicity to the body, maybe it's a 0.0001 chance that it could affect if you have that kind of gene for being susceptible to a certain cancer. I guess that would be my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So it could increase it, but like at the end of the day, if you're gonna get it, you're probably gonna get it, and if you're not, you're probably not.
That's true. I think that's very true. And I think that even with, I noticed with my cancer from the start, I do think that stress brought it to the surface a lot faster. And I noticed that with, if I went through it in the last 10, 11 years, if I went, some kind of traumatic event happened, or something happened to my body that, really rough surgery or infection, those kinds of things made my body not fight the cancer off as well. The T cells weren't kicking in as well. So I do think that, yeah, different things like that could bring it to the surface faster.
True.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say like mental state, where your mental state is at, seems to play a lot into like how people get sick and when they get sick, especially stress and stuff like that. But I see like DJs and artists who tour and stuff they are drinking every single night, every time they're playing and all that kind of stuff. And, like we talk about, we're like, man, I couldn't imagine, even just having one night and like what that does to my week, sets me back 3 days and all that sort of stuff. It's like, I think that they really are in such a good mental state when they're doing it. They're having fun and they don't see it as like, they're not doing it out of a negative thing, that their bodies are just able to keep going and keep doing that because they're like uplifted, and that, what I'm saying, and they don't necessarily get sick. Maybe it is doing damage to them and they're not going to see it till it's long term, but I think like Kyle said, like once the stress comes on or something negative happens, something traumatic happens, you're not really going to see the effects of it until then. I really believe that, because I see so many people. I mean, even just friends, forget the DJs or artists traveling and all that kind of stuff. Even just my friends who go out all the time, I think that they are able to leave their stresses behind and be able to enjoy, all these terrible substances for them, whether it's eating late night or drinking late night, or, and their bodies are able to, I guess, they're blessed enough to get away with it. I'm not.
Yeah.
That is
For
a
me,
damn interesting subject.
for me, the worst thing like about drinking isn't necessarily, I guess it is the way it makes me feel, but I think what makes me feel so bad is like the guilt of it, rather than like I feel guilty. So then that's why I always tell people, like, if I'm gonna drink, like I'm not gonna just drink one. Like I'm gonna feel just as guilty if I drink one or 30. And the guilt just eats away at me. So I'm like, listen, I'd just rather not, guys.
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't want to drink now. I get older, I'm not gonna drink.
Yeah.
I think it's I think if you have to be if you're trying to be a high level athlete and you're trying to optimize your health, if you're trying to be at your best as as a probably as a music composer, or I guess a DJ could probably sort of get by, right? Maybe it depends on what you're trying to do. Would that DJ be, is he better because he's drinking? That's part of his job or something like that. I think that could be possible. I think you tapped into something really interesting too that I've thought about a lot, and kind of, really been hacking my body off and on for the last 10 years. Is there's a Bible verse, I think it's in Lamentations, it says, no, it's Ecclesiastes, and it says, all right, so we toil, we labor, life is difficult, and I'm kind of paraphrasing and getting, just trying to get the gist of it. And everything is so difficult. It's all meaningless. It's why, whatever, people have riches, people don't have riches. It's all meaningless. So we might as well eat, drink, and be merry. So that verse I've thought about a lot. Some people have kind of taken that context because Ecclesiastes was actually written about the kings had a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience doing just crazy amounts of things, and they're kind of reflecting on, well, I did this and that's what I concluded, but it doesn't mean it's the best thing. But at the same time, like, well, hey, life is really tough. If in an appropriate setting, in the appropriate time, eat, drink, and be merry, enjoy life, let that stress go from the toils and labors of, if we have no meaning to our life and it was depressing, maybe there's something to that, kind of what Daniel was tapping into. Hey, they're enjoying themselves, they're able to function, and they're able to go through in life and everything. I kind of think too, every person has a limit. Like, you could go by, maybe some person's limit is 40 years of doing that to their body, putting a lot of sugar and a lot of alcohol, and eventually something's going to kick out. You're going to have some kind of health problem, diabetes or heart, or one of those deals. But I do think that's a whole interesting subject that I've kind of gone back and forth. As an athlete, you're trying to be the best athlete you're trying to be a Levi Kelly. I think that that's kind of tough there, because if you started drinking on a regular basis and adapt your body to it so it could process it better, then you still dropped your body's output by like 5% or 1% or something. Or if you drank one time, what did you do for that next month? How much is that dropping it? And any kind of drop is got to be a tough thing to have to confront.
Yeah. Can you guys hear my neighbor's sighting in his gun? I'm out in the country. Can you guys hear the gunshots or no?
No.
Dang it. That would be awesome to have that on the podcast.
What the hell?
That's amazing. What the heck? Gee,
You can
no,
see
I'm with you there.
you can see
Man.
my on our porch.
So what you got for some thoughts, Kai? So what is it like to be the son of a guy that has cancer?
I mean, no, it's a little different. I guess sometimes you can't uh like work out or play basketball or something, but it's pretty much the same. It's pretty awesome. I mean, well, not awesome. I mean, but like still the regular. It makes up for it because he's such a great dad.
Ah,
Mhm.
thanks, bud.
Hey,
Deserve some bonus points.
It's probably like motivating too, as a kid. And your dad, he's fought all of his life for his life, and the shape that you're in, the things that you're still able to do. It's for me, it would be motivating.
That's kind words. It's interesting. The boys have never known me without cancer. It's just kind of, yeah, dad and cancer just kind of go together. There wasn't a, it was before they have any memories. They were 2 years old or so. And I think Kai was one maybe when it started, one or two. And so they've never really confronted. It's always kind of gradually they've understood as they understood more things about life and cancer. And it just kind of, there's been times I think, has there been a time, Kai, when you've been like, oh man, I'm kind of concerned with this news?
I mean, not to be honest, not really. I mean, you usually one little virus or whatever seems pretty small, even though it's such a big virus, seems pretty small for you, considering all the weird crap you go through, crazy things.
Yeah, that's true.
Kyle,
Maybe I should worry a little more.
has, has where you sit down and be like, hey, and explain everything to him, or like how old were they when you kind of really told them like, hey, I'm fighting for my life pretty much every day. So
That's a great question. I've gotten that question a lot from other parents and stuff of what do I do? How did you manage that with your kids? And there's some books out there. And I wasn't able to find a book. Hey, we need to write a book here, right, Kai? I think we need to write a book on this. I wasn't able to find a book. Most of the advice in the books, it was kind of written to the kid level, but I felt like it it got into thinking about it too much. Like there was an over. I feel like at a certain level of age, let's say there's different levels where you can process stuff. And I felt always stay on the simple end of it. And when you're talking to your kids about it, keep it really simple. Uh, Tell the truth, but keep it simple and keep it very positive. Like if the kid's 5 years old, daddy has a little thing called cancer, it makes him a little sick sometime. Um, if they had more questions, I kind of answer the question on simple terms. And then for me, I always just finished it we said a little prayer and always went right into, all right, let's, like, and I kept the mood really good afterwards. Let them know too, hey, if as they age up to 7, 8, like, hey, if this is a serious thing, we're not just gonna gloss over it. We're gonna tell the truth about it and what's going on. And I think there was one point maybe when Kai was 10, he was like, dad, you were in the hospital and I didn't know you were going to go there. Because it's kind of, he goes back and forth that we have a 50-50 thing going on with his biological mom. So he's like, I really need to know, like, when you do go into the hospital and exactly what's happening, so somebody else isn't interpreting it for him. So then I realized, yeah, he needs to know, be kept at least up to date on what's going on. But I really feel like not dwelling on it and going, there's no reason that you have to tell, any more than they want to hear. I kind of just let them sort of tell them the basis of it, and then kind of let them ask questions. But I even think a book is probably too much for a kid, because now that I'm thinking about it, is that you're giving them the book and then it's always there. My parent has cancer. It's a serious thing. We should be sad about it. It's okay to cry about it and that kind of thing. No, let's live life.
yeah, I think that's smart. That's good advice there. I was too like, man, how would you do that? How would you even explain it to a kid?
Yeah, and it's kind of hard too, because I mean, it's hard to explain it to adults. I didn't know crap about cancer. It's become my thing now. I feel, it's like my almost like my hobby or my one of my passions, but I didn't know nothing about it going in, and I struggle. Well, people close to me struggle too, explaining exactly what this is, exactly what I'm dealing with. It's easy to kind of for a person to have the image of it's way worse than it is, and on the same time it's a lot easier than it is. I've had some, there was a time when I was really putting myself out there in the cancer world, and I was starting to get I would get hate mail sometimes. It was weird. The first piece of hate mail that, messages that I would get were usually targeted to um a person was really passionate about you should never do chemotherapy, and that my message out there was killing people, sort of thing, and blah blah blah. And then I would get messages sometimes like, oh, you're such a martyr, you're always saying, oh, how hard you have it, but you're fine, we see you're working out and stuff like that, you're lying about, I get message like, I'm not being honest. And it's like, well, what should people expect a cancer patient just to be shriveled up, and the kind of, and there's times where it has been kind of like that, but I really think you're not going to live very long if you stay in that state, first of all. And second of all, it's if you're going to battle any kind of problem in life, you should never have your posture and your emotional and your physical posture set into losing, where you're just stuck in that position. So yeah, hit a little tangent there. Sorry about that.
My mom told you my mom had cancer. Was it 2013?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and yeah, they caught it stage 1. And I remember when she found out, she just started like crying.
Oh.
And I was 14, and
Wow.
I didn't understand like what was
going
going on. They kind of, I think because it was early too, they caught it early. They didn't go too in depth, just like you said, like they didn't go too crazy with me about it. I knew that she was like quote unquote sick, but everything was going to be fine. They were going to take it out and she was going to be good to go. And I think it's been 9 years now.
That's tough. It's getting that message that you have cancer. It doesn't, I don't care what stage or what type of cancer is or what the odds say. You immediately run through, hey, there's somebody, it doesn't matter what the cancer is, somebody out there hasn't survived that cancer. My cancer originally is, we started off where I was misdiagnosed or misstaged and misdiagnosed, but it turned out to be stage 4 lymphoma. Hodgkin's lymphoma is known as very treatable. It's a really hard regimen to go through, but it's very treatable. At the time I was treated, it was 80% success rate and cure. And you go through like 9 months of pretty intense chemo and go through stuff. But then most of the people that come out of it, and when you look at age ranges too, I think it was even higher. I think it was something like 95% in the 10-year-old to 40-year-old range or something, where they would get cure. And it tends to attack younger people too, the Hodgkin's lymphoma. But then I fell into the 1% where it didn't work up front, and then I fell into the 1% of that. And you never know, you get that
Right.
diagnosis, especially if you don't know the whole cancer world. Maybe you hear cancer, people get sick and they die from it. It's a rattling, shocking, very anxiety. When I first was, the news, I was in denial over it. It took me when it finally set in and I realized, okay, now I got this. I was online, I was on the internet. I don't think I slept for 3 days straight. And I was just, constantly, how can I be, just in the state of just worry and anxiety and fear. And I find what really got me off of that is I got connected in a message forum. I don't know if you guys are around for those message discussion boards. I think some of them are out there still, but I got on there and there was this guy named Spider, and I kind of connected him. I was like, this guy's pretty cool. He works out and stuff. And he was like, yeah, you need to just go and have yourself a piece of pizza and a beer and just, let it go instead. And that just shifted me, because I was just living this, oh, I can't touch this, I can't do this. And doing that shifted me. I had the pizza beer, actually got to sleep again. And then, realized that, eventually started realizing you got to live life. But I can't imagine going through that when you're 14, years old, because that's such a vulnerable time in a person's life. And then like with the boys, they never were confronted at it, where it was just like they realized what was going on. That's not an easy thing to go through.
Yeah, my uncle right now, he just got out of the hospital yesterday. They found, I think they don't know if it's cancerous or not. It's a mass one is pancreas, I think, and he couldn't swallow. He's having trouble swallowing and stuff like that. They haven't determined cancer or not yet, but I was just telling my mom, is like they're worried about it, but I'm like, until you know for sure, don't obsess over it. Like
That's true.
things, But
Yeah, that is a little concerning though, to have a mass on the pancreas. I think too, when you hear pancreatic cancer, if people are kind of tapped into the news and stuff, you think of Steve Jobs that passed from pancreatic, and sometimes in the news it'll say it's the biggest killer, and that this is probably around the time that he passed. I forget when it was, maybe that was 8 years ago or something. When he that's a killer, where it's since he's first of all, he declined treatment when he got the cancer. So I believe that's the main reason he passed. But he thought that he wasn't going to do chemo, and which I've been guilty of in my time too. At some point, is that I chased the whole cannabis, the whole natural, you don't need chemo and sort of thing. And since that time, every year, that's why I'm alive. One of the main reasons I'm alive, because every year there's been huge breakthroughs. And now, even just this year, for pancreatic cancer, the survival rate has gone way, way up. The breakthroughs have been almost like amazing. And it's like, wow, how did somebody come up with it? From the spleen of a rabbit, you can extract and create this medicine that is knocking out tons of cancer now.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
I was gonna say too, kind of just for the listeners, as far as like what I've seen with Kyle, and how I kind of describe, like him, being able to lift heavy, and then one day he's taken out. It's kind of like the weather in a sense, but like the most extreme weather, right? So the sunniest, nicest day, that's Kyle in the gym, and when he's happy, and then imagine a hurricane one day, or a snowstorm. You're not going outside, you're not driving, none of that. I remember when you guys were moving from your house, and I'd come over to help, and you're having a rough day, man. We had like everything out of the house. We had it all in the U-Haul, and there was just one thing left in the house, and it was a bed with Kyle on it. And dude, until you see him, in a state like that, it's hard for you to then be like, oh yeah, yeah, this guy's working, he's champing it, and all this other stuff. It's like it's not those bright sunny days, all the time. So
That's a beautiful descriptor, man. That fires me up right there. Thanks for that, man. That's so I'm so grateful for, you get family, friends. I see you guys. I think I'd written this. I truly see it at you guys as real family. This is one of my favorite quotes from Jesus. He said, "Who are my mothers, my brothers? It's those that follow me." But obedience is thicker than blood. So it's like I've really found in my life over time is that, yeah, my family, my blood family, my parents and such, I love them. I'm grateful that I have such great parents, and if I have family that I'm blood related to and everything. But my real family is who I choose, who I choose to be. We choose our family to be with. And I've chosen Levi, Taya, Dana to be my family. That's my real family. Those are the people that are there when you're trying to move and you're sick. You know what I mean? That's such a valuable thing to have. And I think some people get stuck in, this is my family and that's all I have, and I'm stuck with it. I'm so depressed. No, you don't have to live that way. There's reach out. There's plenty of people out there that you can find like-minded things in, people that are optimistic and positive, and build up your own family.
Right. For me, that was huge. Like once I started going to Tim's and stuff like that, having a family, a quote unquote family in Arizona, and then having my actual family, and now with Nico and those guys having people I can be around when I'm in Florida. Like, it makes it more like I can't wait to get to Arizona. Like, I'm so excited to get back. And I think without that group, it's a little bit different. Like, me going to Arizona is like, okay, here I go. I'm going back to work. Where now it's not that way because I have this whole family out there.
Ooh, that's a good word. That's a good word for so many people that move for jobs or for sports or for school. And I know Dana went through that element as well. I'm curious, Dana, when you moved down, you got into ASU. Did you pop right into the fraternity life?
No, I was so into DJing at that time. I was DJing so much in high school. I was playing shows constantly, it was like I was only playing one sport or I guess I ran cross country too, but I was playing baseball only, so like that's all you have to really focus on. So I was playing a ton of shows and stuff. And that's what I wanted to do at ASU. I got really lucky because I didn't know anybody going to ASU, obviously coming from Chicago. And then some friends from like the public high school that I would have went to had let me know that another guy was going, and I got paired up with him as a roommate. We got to he ended up becoming my best friend, and so I was like immediately had a family. And then how I became like team manager for ASU baseball was our dorms were next to where they like put all the baseball players, because it didn't matter what your major was as a baseball player. They made sure all the guys were together, so they were all in like the business dorms and stuff like that, and those were our next door neighbors, and so came really close with them. But it was, yeah, I mean, I know for me, and I'm sure for Levi, it's like it was essential for me to like come out here and like make a family. Especially mine's 2,000 miles away. Um, and I don't remember what your initial question was. Oh, the fraternity thing. Yeah, that didn't really happen until I started DJing, because that's where all the parties were. And then, eventually I realized, oh, okay, I actually don't need to be a part of a fraternity where they haze you and do all this crazy stuff, because these guys are going to want me to DJ their party anyway. So keep that in mind for anybody who wants to go to parties in college. You just DJ them, bro.
I don't even understand the fraternity stuff because I didn't
Oh,
go to
it's
college.
oh, it's disgusting, dude. I mean, it depends on where you go to. Obviously, like I know, Big 12 schools are crazy. Big 10 schools are crazy. Pac 10 schools are like whatever, I guess. But ASU, man, ASU was like they hazed the crap out. My roommate, he would have night terrors. They would have these guys who would run each class. He'd be like the master hazer. They'd call him the marshal, and he would say his marshal's name in his sleep when we were in our dorms. Like, I mean, it was like he would have night terrors about what happened to him. And like, yeah, I mean, it was like, and then like, a girlfriend would find out about what was happening and like tell their mom or something. Their mom would like call ASU, and then all of a sudden the whole fraternity's on probation and all this sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, the fraternity that I pledged eventually got kicked off campus because of people finding out about the hazing tactics they were using.
What's the point in it? It's just to make friends or what?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know. It's literally, the girls, like the sorority girls, that guys want to be paired up with the sorority girls. I don't know. It's like baseball and softball, that wasn't like a thing, right? It's like, oh, because I'm on the baseball team, I'm gonna go date a girl that's on the softball team. And that wasn't it. But that's how it is in fraternity and sorority. It's like, well, these people at the parties are only in the Greek life and all that kind of stuff. But the hazing is disgusting. It's unnecessary.
That's
Yeah. You'll be paying taking money out of your own pocket as a freshman in college to buy things for the guys that are active in the fraternity already, and they'll never repay you for the money you spend. So on top of spending $1,000 just to get into the fraternity for a semester, you are also probably spending about 500 to $1,000 buying stuff for guys that are already in there.
and
Same guys who are whooping your ass.
if you don't do it, then what? They
They
kick
whoop
you out?
they whoop your ass, or they kick you out. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not paying you and I can whip your ass. But
Right.
you're the chief of the fraternity. Now what happens? You don't have to pay?
Right. I mean, no, they call them your dues. So like once you're active, your dues go down, and then you pay like a semester fee. You also have to like keep your grades up. So that's like another thing. Kids want that on their like resume. So you have to like have above, I think it was like a 2.25 or something like that. So I mean, yeah, I guess there's a benefit to that, but it's like the president of the fraternity would always have to turn a blind eye, because if he ever got asked about anything, he had to act like he didn't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? At least that's how it was for us. It was like they would literally just act like, oh, okay, well, I wasn't at any of the hazing events, so I don't know that's even going on, you know? And like that's how, I kind of get away with it.
And the president's what, the most popular guy?
It kind of depends. It really depends. People vote on it. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the most popular guy. It's usually the smartest guy, to be honest.
There's one
Yeah.
crazy.
We were talking about fraternities
On
over
our
here,
well,
Mr. Kakai. I think switching gears, I like talking about a little bit about relationships. Oh, is Kai still there? He left right when I said that. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
What is how is it at your school at this age, Kai? 7th grade, are kids starting to date and things like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's not really serious at all, and it's not gonna last any long or whatever. So it's just kind of funny to watch it happen and stuff.
what grade what are you in? 7th, 8th, 7th?
7th grade.
I know a couple that is married now. They started dating in 7th grade.
Whew.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. You'd be surprised, Kai. There's some that stick it out.
Dude, I'm getting spam calls right now. So annoying.
Are you getting any tell in middle school, Kai, or no?
Any what?
You getting any girls? You got a
Yeah,
girl?
I had one for like a week.
A week?
He kind of had
Give
this.
us the D. You gotta give us the detail, Kai.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
let's hear about it.
well, I followed your advice, Dad, and I just passed around a paper, and then if I said yes or no, and if they said no, I just moved on. And then eventually it worked. So
Yeah. If you ask enough of them, one of them will say yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was I didn't know that was done still. I think I did. I think that's 7th grade. I can't remember. I think I started doing that in like 3rd, 4th grade. That's kind of effective though. I think that's, now that I think about it, that's formidable.
Yeah. I mean, in West Virginia, it's a little bit different. You're freaking getting after it in middle school here. You're not going too crazy, but you're kissing and stuff.
Let's hear the story now of how Taya and Levi met.
Oh God.
We gotta have Taya's well, if she wants to come on anytime. I know Ara has been. When am I going to be on? When is Taya and I going to be on? We were kind of waiting for you guys to come back to the shop, but hey, let's hear this.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely go more into detail like when we get back. When me and Ara will hop on more, but we actually met. So he went to in high school his sophomore year for high school. And then he actually transferred to my high school his junior year. I was a senior. So it was actually kind of funny because there was a baseball guy that was one of my best guy friends in high school. And he was supposed to take Levi on a tour of our school. So before he was taking on a tour, he was showing me Levi's Instagram saying like, look at this kid. He might be coming to our school, blah, blah, blah. And right when I saw his Instagram, I looked at my guy at the time. I said, I will date this kid. And he was like, won't, like joking. And I'm like, watch, I'll date him. And then I saw him on the tour and I was so nervous. I was so nervous to even see him. And then he ended up going to my volleyball game that night. But if you want to go on this part story.
We don't need to talk.
Okay, so no, he goes to my volleyball game, and it actually ended up being that we all went out as a group to eat afterwards, and he actually ended up hitting on my best girlfriend at the time. So they started kind of flirting, whatever. And then throughout the week, he ended up coming to our school, and they were texting, and she was like, we're about to go on our first date. I'm really nervous. Like, will you come with third wheel a little bit and help me out with like my nerves? I was like, yeah, of course. So all three of us go to sushi. I was third wheeling with them. But it ended up that him and I talked the entire time, and she just sat there. So it was like really like we were on the date pretty much, but whatever. So they only ended up talking for like a week,
Couple more
like
days.
that week, yeah. And then as soon as he ended it with her, he texted me, and then we were dating within like 3 weeks of that, and yeah,
I was the new kid at school, so all the chicks wanted me.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
The new baseball athlete too, like one of the biggest athletes we had at, it was a small private Catholic school. So, I mean, him walking in was like, oof.
I was already committed to LSU at the time too, so dating in high school was pretty easy.
I bet you when he came in, you were just really friendly with everybody, just making friends right away, right?
Well,
Me, no.
no. Week of us dating, I found out pretty quick, like he was from West Virginia, and here they like to fight, and in Florida we do not fight, like especially at a private Catholic school there are no fights going on whatsoever. And we were at a Halloween party one night, and he just got, I don't know if he was just getting like angry because there were some kids that were having beef with each other, and he felt like he needed to be the hero, and so he was trying to get into a fight, and I was trying to tell him like we do not do that here. Like we don't. And so yeah, I had to figure out pretty quick that Levi's not too friendly as if you get on his nerves.
There was a kid he was punching the wall, and I'm like, what are you doing punching the wall? And he's like, oh, so-and-so's with my girl. And I was like, you want me to beat his ass? And he was like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. And I'm like, dude, you ain't got to tell me twice. I'll go do it right now.
I was like, if you do that, we're breaking up. I was like, I'm not, we don't do that in Fort Myers.
Oh, that's awesome.
My room.
Yeah.
So you guys, how long has it been now? Has it been 7, 8 years?
Well, so we dated for a year in high school, and then I was a senior, so I ended up, well, I was supposed to go away to college. So we broke things off then, and then we've been on and off literally probably about every year since, but we've been back together like officially, seriously for a year and a half now. But yeah, we've known each other and have been in each other's lives for seven years.
Basically, before it was like pretty much when I was in Florida, we were dating, and when I wasn't, we weren't.
Yeah. So anytime he would leave, it was like we would break up.
Yeah, I can relate to that for sure.
Especially like we were so young when we met, and we fell in love fast. Like for two 17-year-olds, we were
You don't need, I just think like if you're dating in high school and then you're across the country or whatever, like, I don't know. I guess you can stay together, but to me, to stay together and not do anything, and like, you don't experience anything because you're dating.
we
I
wouldn't
don't
have
know that.
grown as individually as people had we stayed together, I don't think.
Right? Yeah.
Awesome.
As much as it sucks that we can't say we've been together for a solid 7 years, I'm also really grateful for it that we've both experienced other people, we've dated other people, we've experienced life in general without each other. So now it's a lot easier to come back and make it happen.
Heck yeah. That's beautiful. What about Mr. Dana? What's the update over there?
I would say first off, that's great advice, by the way, guys. You guys, that's great. Because yeah, I was in a long distance relationship, and every time we were apart, it was kind of the same thing. It was like she was in Hawaii and I was here, and it just didn't work. It did not work. And it was, yeah, it was mostly because yeah, like you just want to experience things, not even with another person. That just happens. It's just literally you just want to experience things by yourself, I guess, just grow as a person, see what it's like without them.
At least for me in high school, you're so insecure. So you're like, I don't want you to do anything without me. So just stay at home and stay on the phone with me because you're so whatever. So I think it's just, I don't know, it's hard.
Yeah, like our
The
even though
feelings, the
love back,
feelings at that age, like they're more intense, maybe.
yes, that's why it was for two young kids, it was too much for us to handle. And it was a little bit toxic, and we had to like mature and learn that we don't need the insecurities and all this. High school doesn't help too. Like dating in high school is tough
There's
in
ass
general.
everywhere.
But it's also like everyone's gossiping, and
Yeah.
it's tough.
It's hard to know. That's good advice, and that's so wise. And it's, I think, for when you're in it, when you're in that junior high school age, you think you got everything pegged in. You think that who you is, you're in control of it and everything. But to have that realization, hey, we got to mature a little bit. This is where the way that I feel about things is going to change when I get a little bit older. I'm going to have so many new experiences and so much learning to apply to these kinds of feelings.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
and
too,
go ahead.
yeah, you change so much as a person. Like the person that I am now is not the same. She's basically dating somebody completely different, and like vice versa too. It's so I don't know. I think just not be if you're constantly together, you don't really change that much because you're not experiencing things. So you almost stunt your growth, I think, a little bit.
I think there's something to be said too, that you guys have a root of trust, who the real, I feel like, how to say it, like our souls or our childlike self. You guys know the root of that. So like you don't have, it's kind of hard, I think. I imagine trying to be in the dating scene now is try to sift the realness of the essence of who somebody really is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
And
I met my girlfriend now. Was like, we've been dating for like 2.5 months, but I've known her for 3.5 years. Like when I moved up to Glendale, it was like, oh, okay, I met her at my job and all that sort of stuff. And like that was super valuable because I had, when I broke up with when me and my girlfriend had broke up, the girl from Hawaii, it was like I had people asking me all the time, hey, why aren't you going out? Why aren't you dating? Oh, you should try this out, try that out. And it's like, well, I'm spending all this time getting to know myself, writing, meditation, all of that. And I don't really, I want to just let those things come to me because there's nothing like meeting that person from your high school that knows you like nobody else knows you. There's nothing like a friend knowing you. And,
Mhm.
and so like rebuilding that connection was like super important to meeting the girl that I'm dating now. Um, like just being friends first, being friends. And yeah, that's what was hard about dating was like I went on, a handful of dates and I'd go out with these people I didn't really know. And it was just like there's no connection. And then all of a sudden I reconnect with this girl that I knew for 3+ years. And it was like, oh, we both made it to a spot where she was dealing with some crappy people. I was dealing with a crappy situation. And, we were both mature enough to now, like, it still happens, like, like meeting up again, like meeting somebody that you really, really like a lot. You still like that happens again where you're like, oh shoot, I want to be on the phone with you until 2 in the morning or whatever. But now it's like we're coming up on 3 months and I'm able to like we're both peeling it back a little bit and we're both being like, hey, we need to like slow whatever this is kind of down, even though it's not that crazy already. I mean, I only see her 2-3 times a week, but still it's like being so young, we're only 24, 23, and it's like we still have to a lot of the time should be dedicated to ourselves.
I think it's just you just let shit flow naturally. Like don't force it, and if you don't force like to cool off or don't force to like pressure, just let shit flow how it is, and I think that's the best way to do it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're gonna be with that. Hopefully, you're
Paths are gonna cross
right, the
if
right
they're meant
person.
to.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
So when's she going to be on the podcast, Dana?
I don't know.
Yeah.
She works on the weekends a lot right now. So like she's working right now. So who knows? I don't know. She's gonna switch up her schedule soon. So hopefully you guys will get to meet her.
Oh, right on.
There's deer walking right up behind our porch right now. That's why I jumped up because I heard low. We're
And
like out.
make sure that guy's not shooting at you guys because the deer's there.
What
Yeah.
the heck?
I mean that
It looks like Kai had to. He's been popping off and in because his mom's been coming into the room. He didn't want her to. He didn't want her to know he's on. He's like, "What's happening now? What's going on?"
that's
Yeah.
Right on.
Whenever we have Ara on, though, we'll have to dive more into your guys' story just because. I mean, we asked Kai earlier on the pod, like how he handled the news, but I feel asking Ara how she is married to someone that has cancer is a whole
Oh yeah.
own. Like I would love to like just pick her brain at her
Oh
mental
man,
and
I'd love to hear that. That's yeah, you're right about that. It's crazy because when I hopped into the dating scene. I was on Tinder and Bumble and all that stuff. This was like it started
date.
7 years ago. And man, at first I'd pretend I wouldn't tell people that I had girls that I had cancer. But that was kind of hard to navigate because when I got serious with somebody, they're like, "What's wrong with this guy? Like, why is he getting sick all the time, or what's going on here?" So it was like, and then when they did find about I'd be, when I found that I did tell them about it or whatever, how could you be? It's really tough to go into a relationship with somebody that is diagnosed with a really serious cancer, or that is going to be in the. That's a big thing to go on with. So it was a huge blessing when the way it went with Ara, like that somebody actually, I'm like, and I struggled with that, and I still a little bit to this time. We actually, I think there's value. I used to be really like, oh, what could a counselor or a therapist ever tell me? I don't need somebody else to tell me about my life. I can read the Bible, I can figure it out myself or whatever. But we were struggling with from the beginning, is that I didn't want her to go through. So when I started to get sick, or I've had the feeling like, hey, I might not make it, this is getting pretty serious, it's natural I'd want to push her away because I wanted to eliminate her stress. I felt like it'd almost be easier if she was mad at me, like, I don't even like this guy, like to be able to let go a little bit harder, because I could feel like how hurtful it would be to go to be in that relationship. You're as a caretaker, where the person might die, or it's kind of going up and down. In the previous relationship and I was in, it was pretty much 1 year into the relationship, that person couldn't handle it, ended up leaving, and then it launched into attacks and went into a whole nother thing. But and I think that it would be hard. I don't know if I could do it myself. I can't say that I would have not done the same thing as my in my previous relationship. I don't know. I've never been a caretaker, but I do know that it's a lot to handle in a relationship. Taya popped into a good one. It's that's a good read. I know you have such a strong, Taya, you got such a strong analysis, intuitive psychology of reading people, getting into the depths of where that is. I'd love to hear that discussion with you and Ara. I don't want to speak too much for Ara, but it's definitely been huge. I definitely wouldn't be alive. It came, I believe, sent by God. It was just this miraculous thing where, wow, somebody wants to be with me. And I guess I was going into we ended up at our hospital. I got connected to a chaplain there, and usually with the chaplains, like, I got this, like, but this chaplain was different. It was a really just positive, cherry Black woman, about 60 years old, and she ended up coming into my room, and she just started singing hymns when I was just in the worst state, and just an amazing woman that became, I still am in touch with her and consider her a mentor. But she ended up kind of counseling us, because I explained this is the problem that we're having, and she was struggling because she felt like, hey, I love him, I'm in it, I already decided to do this, I'm committed to this, I'm in it for the long run. So she kind of gave that third perspective on some tools that we could use, like I'll tell Ara, like, not doing good right now. So she kind of knows, and she knows to switch gears, and then I'm going to be in this set, like, okay, I might be a little bit concerned that, and feeling guilty that I'm going to be putting you through more sickness. That happened this week as I was at the hospital quite a bit. I probably spent 30-40 hours at the hospital this week going through testing and different issues that I was having, little surgery and things like that. And we run a business together, so that was a little bit hard on her, but she knows, and I was feeling guilty, but she was like, no, I'm ready for this. I'm good. I know that we're going into this, and we're good, and I'll let you know, and we'll ask for help when we need to. So it's, yeah, you triggered something in me where I just kept rambling on this, but man, that's an awesome subject.
No, you're good. I mean, R and I were messaging a little bit throughout the week too, because when you had gone in for your procedure and everything, she was worried, and she couldn't be there, unfortunately, because she had to be at the recharge center. And I was just like, you just have to know that you're always with him regardless. Like, and you guys are always with each other regardless. So even though you aren't physically there, you're there, and I just try to remind her of that. Like, you're in a sense being there for him by continuing on with your guys' business. Like, you're managing it for him while he's doing what he has to do. And that's just how it's got to be.
Right. And that the business has been a huge, I think we talked about this, like for you, it's been a huge, like, hey, if something happens, she's got this now. Like, she's set up where she's can take care of herself. She can take care of the kids and everything like that. And that's been, from what you told me, that's been like a big relief for you.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, it's funny. I did this bone marrow biopsy, and I posted a little video of it where it's in the cancer world, it's known as the most painful procedure. I've had a few other things that may be a little bit more painful, but in a short amount of time. It's about the pain of it is about 10 minutes. But one of the main reasons I went into, Levi's like this, and Dana is too. I mean, we're kind of wired this way where, I wonder what this is like. I think I can make it through this, sort of thing. Like, what's the test here? But the main thing that got me to do it is I went into this procedure with no meds or sedation. Is the main trigger to it is I didn't want, if I went into the procedure with meds and sedation, I'd have to be there 6 to 8 hours, and I'd have to have a driver, and it's this whole thing. And I'm so tired. I get sick of being at the hospital sometimes. So that was, and I didn't want anybody to have to drive me and all that kind of stuff. So that was probably the first part. But the other part was, I want to go through this. I want to see. I want to see. Yeah, there was a point. It was tough because I've had these done before where I was kind of twilight sedated, and I kind of knew what to expect. And usually before I would have I wouldn't have this drill, but a Mayo clinic, Mayo is interesting. They're like a leader in the world, but they do a lot of things old school still. Their MRI is even one that was developed in the 70s. That's just this really intricate. It makes a bunch of noise, and you're like really squeezed in there, like you're in a coffin. And they still prefer to use the drill there. Sometimes I don't know what the reasons are for that, but that's what they're doing. And so they use this drill, and what the goal is there, and they need to take out a piece of my bone and also the bone marrow. But that's to test if there's cancer in there. There's been time I have a big spreading of cancer in my body. We had a scan that came out. It was a little tough on her this week because she's starting to, at first she didn't know what the scans meant. Now she's learned they're not hard to interpret. You basically get a readout of the scan, and now she can kind of tell, like, oh shoot, it says on there like numerous tumors in this region, and she's like, oh, it's kind of getting to her. But it's nothing new, and I'm chemo responsive, and we knew this is because we're not doing chemo right now. We wanted it to grow. We needed to get at least one tumor 2.5, and we got more than we asked for, but that's okay. We're gonna go in and treat it. But we hit that bone marrow biopsy so we could see if there was cancer in there. But they also they take out a piece of bone, and then they aspirate for the bone marrow, and they had to do it twice because the second one was for the trial, for the research study. They had to send it to that company so I could qualify. So the first one, we went in, and they're drilling, and I'm like, oh man, it's like crazy because they in you know, this, I will say that I had numbing in the area. Now I'm not, that would be, I would have passed out for sure if I didn't have numbing in the area, because there was a point when they went in for the second time. The first time I was all right. I was cold plunging it. I was doing the whole Levi thing of just standing there, relaxing my body, staying. What I've done there is I like the challenge sort of staying. I try to connect with the staff, and I was having trouble when I first got in there connecting with. There was two people that were involved, main people that were involved in the surgery. I was trouble like connecting with them a little bit, so I was really working on it, but I finally broke through and got, tried to stay in that state of just, where I found that it's better to be in the state of when you're going through pain or a struggle, of trying to stay in that connecting, positive, smiley place. If I'm not grinding through like this, I kind of almost think it's like the Sugar Sean thing. He's working hard and stuff, but he stays like, hey, we're gonna keep a good vibe with this too. But when they go in with that drill, they're drilling in to go through the bone and into the bone marrow. So it's a process, and then that she tap on the drill, tap, 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 to try to get it in. Like when you're using the drill, for drilling through a board or something. So when she got into the bone marrow, she finally, and then it's in there. It's like, oh man. And then they pull it out and they put a needle in to aspirate to pull out the bone marrow. That's the point that hurts the worst. And when they hit that the second time, I didn't scream. I was ready that I might be a whisper and scream or something. I didn't know it was gonna happen. I was just like, yeehaw, whoa, kind of in that mode or whatever. But if it would have been another one, if it would have gone on probably another 10 seconds, I would have passed out and probably screamed.
Wow, crazy. I couldn't imagine that.
You are one tough SOB.
Yeah, man.
I think there's a little stupidity in it too. Like, what is that phrase? You got to be dumb to be tough or whatever. Maybe not the best idea, but no, I love the opportunity to put together what we worked so hard at to, it really correlates. I believe anybody training for MMA jiu-jitsu could probably make it through that as well. If you're doing those components, really dialing in on the cold plunge every day, you're in that phase. You're working on your breath work. Oh, that's so big. That breath work, you're working on getting your mindset in the right state where you can switch gears to, all of a sudden, hey, this is the fight. I'm switched gears now into the place I need to be in my mind, and I'm focused with everything. I'm shutting off all the other stuff. I'm going to keep my heart rate down no matter how bad it gets. I'm going to stay in that stoicism no matter how bad it gets. I think those elements of the fight and the preparation is, I love that stuff.
Well, go ahead.
If you can go to that zone where it's like almost, I don't know, it's like not even human almost. It feels like, at least like I don't know how to even explain it, but that moment where it's like the flow, like you're flowing. So there's no emotion or like feeling even there, almost, where it's like you get hit or something's happening and it's just like, well, okay. But if I'm not in that state and somebody punches me in the face or kicks me or hits me with a ball, whatever, then it's going to hurt way worse because your adrenaline and stuff is not turning over.
That's true. And I think I am feeling a little bit of conviction because I'm not giving enough credit to God. Like Nico said, when he gets into that situation, and when he goes into the Untapped place, that's kind of, I forgot to mention, hey, this is Untapped. I was doing an Untapped thing. This was all for publicity, and I didn't get enough shooting out the publicity, but yeah, going into that Untapped space is I call on God there, and I was prayed in pretty deep. I was really in. When I wasn't talking, I was going into praise and into talking to God. I wasn't just, I would go into that state too of just shutting everything off and being in the flow, being in the zone. But it definitely was surrounded. And I know that I don't have, I couldn't say that I could scientifically prove that prayer has helped me. Like, one, here's a prayer and this thing and measurable type of thing. But I know I had like a people praying. I had my mom's prayer group. There's something about older women that come together to pray for people. I think it's something about it seems to be pretty powerful. But there's people praying in on it, and I think that made a difference. And somebody could argue too, hey, it's a faith thing where it was a placebo, or it was filling. But I have to say, maybe I could be tricked in my mind. I have to be able to really believe. I got to confront that I could have been tricked, but I really believe God was with me, and like for some reason, in like a really, really powerful, strong way, where I didn't get into like, oh, like this. I feel in a peaceful state. I feel like, Jesus was such a peaceful guy. I feel like I really had the spirit of Jesus with me in that moment. It was pretty crazy.
About like when he was carrying the cross and they're whipping him and they're beating him. He's just like at peace. He's just whatever. And that's like the same mindset for the ice bath replicates that. We see people get in there, fight it. Oh, I can do it. And that was me the first year I did it. I was just tough. I would get in there and I would fight it the whole time. I could still make it 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But now and just let go of that tension. It changed.
It's so true. I feel like there's something, I think that fighters should really see there's something different between a guy like Nico Price or Benson Henderson. Oh man, I think Benson Henderson has to be one of the, right with Nico Price, one of the greatest warriors in the history of fighting. I feel like his fight before last in Bellator is one of the most underrated fights ever. He was going against a guy that I think he never lost. He's one of Khabib's main guys in Bellator, and here's Benson. He's older. I think he's got to be close to 40 now, and he really relies heavily the same way Nico does when he's in those untapped places. To go to God. I'd love to have him on the podcast in the future. I hope we can get him on here.
Did the guy that Benson fought, was it the guy that just won the belt in Bellator at 55?
That's what I was just going to look at.
His last fight, I don't know. I forget who that was. But the fight before that, he beat one of Khabib's guy, and I think that guy came back and just won his fight. But that fight was so crazy. I like to watch that to fire myself up. What Benson did in that fight was wild. I think he may have created the manual on how to beat the Khabib guys.
Islam Mamedov.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that who just won the belt?
No, that was Usman Nurmagomedov. Pretty sure that's his actual little brother.
Mm-hmm. To me, I think what it seems like with those wrestlers, if you can create the jiu-jitsu scramble for long enough for them to fatigue, that's the only way. You gotta scramble long, like the Hamzat Kevin Holland fight.
Ooh.
Kevin Holland was creating the scramble, but he fatigued before Hamzat did. You could see Hamzat slowing down just a tick,
right?
But it became a endurance battle where that obviously Hamzat's a better wrestler, but if you can create the scramble long enough for the wrestlers to fatigue, now the takedowns become a little bit more sloppy. Now they're a little bit easier to defend. I don't know a ton about fighting, but I think that's like what I've seen. If you can scramble, throw up a triangle, omoplata, something to just create the scramble and constantly, now they shoot again. Now you stuff the takedown, whatever. If you can constantly keep scrambling, and it's the moment when you stop to take a breath with the wrestlers, they're so strong. Like Hamzat's stronger than Holland. So if Holland rests for a second or he gasses out before Hamzat does, then it's game over.
Ooh, that's true. Man, I feel like even Sugar, when he kind of had that scramble somersault, the way he stayed in jiu-jitsu, I think that might have been a little bit of help for him too against Jan.
Right. If you're okay, you're resting in the guard, you're on your back and you're resting in the guard, you're not throwing up attacks. Now that's when they can start beating your face in. But every time they go to punch, you throw up a triangle, you throw up an omoplata, you throw up an armbar. Now that creates a scramble. Now you can get up, and now those wrestlers are a little bit fatigued. They shoot again, maybe the same thing happens, the same sequence. Now the next time they shoot, it's going to be a little bit slower and more time for you to piece them up on the feet.
Whew. This is future of UFC stuff right here. Hey, this is gonna be replayed in the future. I believe that I think people are gonna be looking back on this like, this guy's ahead of the game. He's saying some stuff it's gonna be coming up, I believe, in the next few years. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. What you got, Mr. Dana? We've been going a minute.
Nothing. Stoked
How
to have
long?
Levi back and get the pods rolling in person. But we've been going for like hour 40 about.
Right
Let's
on.
get here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you guys even see us anymore?
Oh yeah, that twilight's falling.
I
Yeah, I
have
can see it getting dark though.
I have a remember that class that I was doing. I did that speech with you guys.
Oh yeah.
I have another one today, 5 to 8 minutes long. I'm not looking forward to it, but I did it on 3 ways to reduce stress and anxiety. So I think that
Ooh,
should be. I'm gonna do exercise, ice bath, and meditation.
Right on.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's meditation. What do you do for I want to hear the meditation part.
the for this class, I'm gonna try and break it down as like you don't have to sit in a dark room for 15 minutes and just breathe. Like that's one form of meditation, but trying because a lot of college students, I don't think they're going to do that, or they don't. At least for me, when I started meditating, I didn't understand it, so it was just like, what am I doing in here? It's dark, and I'm just sitting here breathing. What the hell? This doesn't make sense. This isn't doing anything. And so trying to explain it to him, like, okay, if you can get your mind away from whatever stress, and maybe it's a 15-minute walk, maybe it's a 15-minute bike ride, maybe it's going to shoot basketball with your family members or whatever, if just to get away from whatever is stressing you out and fully focus on whatever activity you're doing, treat that as your meditation. It doesn't necessarily have to be sitting in a dark room and breathing for 15 minutes.
Ooh, that's good. That's beautiful. Who's colder between Tan and Levi right now?
I think me.
I'm shivering.
I was gonna say Levi looks way colder.
That's
That's funny. Well, hey, I don't got anything else unless you guys got something. I'm always down to roll more.
I thought that was good. I say
I
we,
think we're good. I think this is our last. Will this be our last Zoom podcast?
yeah, it should
I
be. I'll
think
be there.
so.
I'm gonna try and come train Friday evening and train Friday. So I'll fly and I land at like 3-ish if all goes well, and then probably just Uber back to the house and come train right after that.
Whew. Man, you got a Uber? Wait,
Yeah,
is Taya going back the same time? Are you going back the same time?
no, I'll fly back home to Florida on Friday, so we'll be going separate ways because it's my sister's birthday on Friday and then my mom's birthday on Saturday, and then I'll fly out to Arizona
probably
like
like
Sunday or Monday.
Oh, I got you. Wait, so
I'll
Levi, you're flying in and you don't have a car then, huh?
yeah.
right. I just Ubered from Jakar's and them's because I didn't want to pay for parking at
Oh
the
yeah,
airport.
I'll probably be able to pick you up. We'll
Okay.
continue talking about this on the podcast, like it's just a little side conversation. I'll catch up with you on that later. All right. Well, I think we're good here, right?
Yep. Good to
We're all
go.
good. Well, I'll check us out then. Thanks everybody for watching episode 5 of Untapped. We're so excited. We got our first 5 done, and thanks for being patient with us as we're rolling through the Zoom and finding our way. I'm really excited about what's ahead. We all are excited about what's ahead in the episodes with guests that are coming in and being live and managing our way. And we're still learning. And thank God that we got Mr. Dana Cox with us, to the greatest guy you could ever imagine to help out with the podcast and stuff. And we're just looking forward to what's ahead. Love you guys. Everybody have a best week ever. Happy Thanksgiving.
Love you.
Peace, guys.